Hey everyone, this is Patient Baby Quilts, and this is our game Elizabeth Through Fire and Flesh, an interactive investigative narrative game where one woman gains the power to rewrite the whole story of Frankenstein. Our team is composed of 6 members, which is divided into 2 groups, which is specialized to bring the narrative twist into Frankenstein to life. The art and design team. This team is specialized and focused on creating our characters, environment, and as well as the overall aesthetic to support the dark and interactive, immersive tone of our narrative twist to Frankenstein. The development and coding team. They are responsible for programming the technical backbone of our game. This includes creating an integrated system, programming the branching storyline system, and as well as integrating our art assets into creating an engaging and fun immersive experience. These two teams have combined creativity and technical expertise into creating a fun and reimagined twist into the story of Frankenstein, especially in a modern storyline branching game system.
For our game concept, Elizabeth Through Fire and Flesh is an interactive, investigative narrative game where the player, as Elizabeth Harlander, gains the power to alter the tragic fate set in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. In most versions of Frankenstein, Elizabeth is a passive victim, but in our game, she becomes the main person in control. In this game, the player uncovers hidden truths, confronts moral dilemmas, and even alters the tragic events of the original story. Instead of being a footnote in Victor's downfall, Elizabeth becomes the one who confronts it. As said here, lets the player craft their own canon. For our gameplay mechanics, we made it so that you could rewrite Frankenstein. You piece together clues on a deduction board, connecting Victor's experiments to the creature's creation, with some choices dictating the moment of key tragedies in the storyline. Your choices also shape how people see you, with every conversation and relationship that can change the ending. You'll explore places and search for the buried truth, and when the moment comes, you can intervene to rewrite what was written, to make the next version yours. Our characters include firstly Elizabeth Harlander, of course, who develops an uncanny sensitivity to fate after witnessing Victor's experiments. We also have the famous Victor Frankenstein, whose obsessions blind him to humanity. And we also have the creature, a misunderstood being whose fate depends entirely on how Elizabeth perceives and interacts with him. The narrative keeps the heart of the original novel, but gives players the freedom to shape its ending. And now we ask the players, if you were given the power to change a tragedy, would you do it?
Our game embraces a Victorian Gothic aesthetic, which is brought to life in a cartoon-like style, where dark tones, exaggerated lighting, smooth textures, and dramatic shadows are used to immerse players in a hauntingly beautiful world. And our characters are hand-drawn with expressive emotions, and the UI takes inspiration from torn journal pages. And overall, the visuals reflect themes of creation and ethical dilemmas inspired by the novel and movie. And so, the game is designed for fans of narrative games such as Life is Strange or Telltale titles, students exploring classical literature, and players who enjoy emotional mystery experiences. And we think that they love this game because it lets them step into a story that they already know and they can even change the ending.
Based on our research, narrative and literary based games continue to perform strongly on platforms like Steam. The Story Rich tag on Steam has generated over $21 billion in revenue, showing the commercial strength of deeply narrative driven games. GameStats games that reinterpret classics have historically built very passionate communities, yet Frankenstein has rarely been visited through a feminist or investigative lens. This gives Elizabeth Through Fire and Flesh a clearly defined untapped niche that aligns with current market trends. Games like Life is Strange, The Wolf Among Us, and Pentiment prove there is strong demand for emotional choice driven narratives, literary reinterpretations, and investigative storytelling. But our edge is distinct. We center a feminist perspective in a story traditionally dominated by male voices, turning Frankenstein's legacy into a mystery of agency, ethics, and creation. Players don't just watch the story unfold. They uncover truths, confront moral consequences, and literally rewrite the destiny of a world born from fire and flesh. Developing the entirety of this game will be divided into four phases: pre-production, production, polishing, and release. We project around 7 to 9 months for a full playable version, including a polished Act 1 and multiple endings that will not only give players satisfaction, but that feeling of adventure we want to give to our players.
A woman reclaiming her voice in a time when society silenced her. With a majority woman team, 4 coders and 2 artists, we collaboratively shape the narrative, intentionally uplifting underrepresented perspectives in literature and game development. Our game proudly aligns with global goals. First is the SDG 5, which is the gender equality, by placing a woman at the center of a narrative that historically silenced her. Second is the SDG 4, quality education, transforming classic literature into an interactive learning tool. Third is the SDG 10, reduce inequalities, challenging social hierarchies within the story and empowering marginalized voices. And lastly, SDG 13, climate action, through themes of ethical creation and the environmental consequences of uncontrolled innovation, a direct parallel to Victor's destructive ambition. So in terms of budget, given funding will support art, sound design, software tools, and marketing. Because narrative games have lower production costs and strong niche markets, this project is financially feasible with a high potential return.
The game will be available on PC and potentially Switch and mobile. We plan to develop using Godot and other UI softwares that could enhance this game further. Our earlier prototype already features Elizabeth's introductory investigation and a fully functional dialogue branching system, a solid proof that the game's narrative engine works as intended. Even at this early stage, players can explore environments, uncover clues, and make meaningful decisions that alter Elizabeth's trajectory. This validates not only our concept, but also the feasibility of expanding the game into a rich, multi-layered experience that can grow with sufficient resources and development time. Elizabeth Through Fire and Flesh reimagines a classic story and gives the power of creation not to Victor, but the player. With every choice, the player shapes not only Elizabeth's rebirth, but the very fate of a world struggling between humanity and monstrosity. It's an emotional, choice-driven experience designed to captivate players and create a strong foundation for future expansions and investor growth. Thank you.